All right. You're live with the Purist podcast.
What's going on? It's your boy Rav, man, and I'm with my brother Michael Johnson, and it's the Purist podcast, and we got a lot to talk about today. We got a whole slate when it comes to the Charlotte Bobcats, the New Orleans Hornets, the Charlotte Hornets.
Are we back to the Bobcat era?
It feels like it, man. We dive right into it. The level of incompetency that we are seeing from the Charlotte Hornets from the top down, it is really, if you're a fan of this team, a lifelong fan of this team, how could you possibly have any hope for the future? You know, an article came out last week talking about Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnell are hesitant even next year in making any big moves because they don't know if they want to make a long-term investment in upgrades. That article came out last week.
What?
Alluding, yeah. They were saying even next year, they don't know if they want to make a long-term investment as far as upgrading the talent on the franchise, because I don't know if it's because they don't know if they're going to get an ROI, return on investment, or they don't know what the value of the actual franchise will be. I don't know. But it was an article that alluded to them just kind of staying pat.
So they're not trying to come in and have the Hornets be successful on the court. This might just be an investment play for them.
To me, it feels like they know the league wants to expand. They know the league wants to switch some things around. And it's kind of like you're driving down the street in a gentrified area in the inner city, and you see this shabby house in between two brand new houses. And you just knock on the door and say, how much? You know, because it's worth more to you, even if it's dilapidated, even if it's terrible. It's worth more to you to be able to go to the realtors and whoever's trying to sell that land and sell that plot and that home. It's better to have it, because now you can negotiate and say, okay, you want to go to Vegas, or you want to go to Seattle, or you want to go wherever you want to go, maybe Germany. That's going to be $500 million. It's going to be $1.5 billion, when really the franchise is probably only worth $400 million or $700 million. I'm just speaking of hypotheticals, and maybe that's what they did.
Man, because I'm at a loss right now with where they're at, where they're going. It seems like they're constantly waiting. They're waiting to see, waiting for the perfect moment. Then we'll move, right? There's always an excuse for why we can't move forward. You know, so and so's hurt, or when this guy comes back, or when this happens, then we'll know. Well, we're in this is year 4, Lamelo, and it feels like we're still waiting. We're still sitting around waiting for something, and it's like, is that ever going to come? Let me take that back. As of right now, I don't see where it's coming from, because something has to change, and I don't know what's going to cause that thing to change. And hearing that the new owners are in that same posture of we're going to wait and see, it's frustrating. And you see what you're seeing right now, which is a team that's it's going nowhere.
Yeah, I'm looking up this article right now because honestly, I want to be able to share it in the description for the viewers. Make sure you guys subscribe to the LitHoUsE and also subscribe to Michael Johnson's Amongst the Trees on YouTube. I'm going to make sure I put the ad in the description, like always, so that you guys can look up that wonderful podcast and channel and support the brother. Yeah, I want to put this in the description because if you're a Hornets fan, like I said, if you're a lifelong Hornets fan, what the hell does that signal to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you have hope in an ownership group that sees a team in the dumpster fire? That the Hornets are a dumpster fire, bro. They've got log jams at every position. You got a guy in Terry Rozier who's rolled out there like a gaslight of a stopgap for a franchise player or a potential franchise player, which log jams the development of every other young guy on the team. It makes it where you have to choose between playing Nick Smith Jr., Bryce McGowan, and James Bouknight, when really, ideally, in a year like this, you want to play all your young talent, not only to develop it, but also if you have to trade one of those guys to build up some trade value where you don't have to use a pick. You see what I'm saying? But instead of doing that, you're still going with this formula of let's pretend we have a playoff team. Let's pretend that Terry is a starting playoff caliber guard, or Gordon Hayward is a starting playoff caliber guard. And then you say to yourself, Rick Snell from Brooklyn, New York, been around the Brooklyn Nets, been around the New York Knicks, right? He's seen both of those franchises go from 0 to hero in a 4 to 5 year span, mortgaging young talent, making big moves. So why is it in Charlotte it's this hurry up and wait approach? He has to know that's not good basketball. He has to know that roster right now is just not good enough. What do you think's going on, Mike?
Well, I think it does seem like you made the comment that they're trying to pretend like they're a playoff team.
Right.
And that seems like the game in Charlotte since day one, since they drafted Lamelo. When you sign in Terry Rozier, he made a name for himself in Boston, but he wanted a bigger role. That wasn't for him, so he went to a different team, obviously. So he goes to Charlotte as he's the man now. I left Boston, I there was no space for me there, but now I'm in Charlotte. Now I'm the guy there, right? And you can sell his playoff success to the fans. Then they signed Gordon, right, to do the same thing, to sell this team as this is a playoff caliber team. We got big name Gordon Hayward. We got Terry Rozier. This is a credible NBA team. We're a playoff team type deal, right? And it seems like that's all they're trying to do. That's all they're trying to sell to the fans. It's nice and it's easy, right? It's very, very simple. It's a simple business model. You don't have to go too crazy. You never have to worry about do we pay or don't pay. We just don't pay anybody. We just keep on drafting new people and just keep this grift going of this is a competent playoff team. We're gonna play hard. We're gonna have some Carolina guys on the team. But all the meanwhile, they're never talking about or sniffing anything about title aspirations or going to the top. It's just we're selling you. We know who we are. We're mediocre. Accept mediocrity. And even when they drafted, LaMelo, they had no real conviction about drafting him. It was whoever's on the board, we're going to take him. Reports are that they wanted Wiseman. He's off the board, but so they ended up taking LaMelo right there. But he wasn't ever part of the plan. He was just there, and they took him. And the team looks like that ever since. That there really is no plan. Well, if there was a plan, and that plan was Terry and Gordon,
right?
And LaMelo disrupted that plan. He was not supposed to be this. He was not supposed to take over the team. He did that year one. That was supposed to be Gordon's year. They just overpaid for Gordon Hayward. And everyone's like, why are they doing this? Because he was supposed to be the franchise guy. And then they picked up LaMelo, who was just there. So I guess we'll take him, right? And then by halfway through the year, it was night and day that this dude is outshining everyone on this team right now, right? Yeah. To the point where you could see that Gordon had to wrestle control back to him. All of a sudden out of nowhere, and you could see LaMelo was ascending, and then it was like a meeting was made behind the scenes, and then next game started, and next thing you know, we're running play after play after play for Gordon. I was like, yo, what's going on here, right? And that was the first time where I was like, I'm seeing one thing on the court, wow, this LaMelo thing is starting to work out. He's where's this going? And then the front office Mitch steps in and it does something. Next thing you know, back to the Devontae Graham show, and we need to get Terry and Gordon going. Let's stop this Lamelo stuff. And so it always felt like they have been holding him back, or they don't want to embrace what he's doing, because if you do that, you're forced to make moves. You're forced to actually move Gordon, move Terry, and that's risky. That's a big gamble. We already had this long-term plan to have these guys in here, and now Lamelo comes here and you want me to shake it up. We're not going to do that. We're a conservative organization. We're not going to rock the boat too much. And so you get what you get where you have right now, to where even with Terry and Gordon playing well, what's the team doing? Like, you can't win with this team because the roster is just not good enough.
Like I said, the word that keeps jumping out to me is competency. They just look incompetent, man. From the top down. When they play these games, you can almost script how they're going to go. Like you can write, everyone jokes about the script writers and the NBA script writers. You can write your own script with the Charlotte Hornets. If it's a game that has young talent, middle level, 6 seed, 7 seed, 8 seed, the Hornets might catch them off guard in the first half. But by the fourth quarter, they're going to be out executed in every facet of the game. And when the other team flips the switch, the Hornets just don't have enough guys to deal with the execution defensively. And offensively, they don't have a cohesive, pragmatic plan that helps them score buckets to keep pace. This is night in on night out. But at the same time, instead of highlighting the deficiencies of the Gordon Haywards and the Terry Roziers, what they do is they highlight the numbers. So it's like it's a media push to douse the frustrations of the fan base by always highlighting the good things about Terry and Gordon, so that you'll stick with the plan, stick with the plan until what? The abyss? Like where is this thing? Like, really, Mike, the Hornets play unwatchable basketball. It's unwatchable. As bad as Detroit is like what? 2-26 or something, 2-27, who knows? You say to yourself, Detroit's going to eventually figure it out. It might be 5 years, it might be 10 years. But we've seen throughout the history of the Detroit Pistons, them go back to back in the 80s, right? And all of a sudden, in a 10-year span, 11-year span, they go and beat the Los Angeles Lakers, which is arguably the greatest team of all time, with a team full of guys. No one superstar on that team. Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince. Because you say to yourself, it's still an organization that has been to the top with championship medals. When you look at the Charlotte Hornets, the only thing you have is the history of failure. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. No matter what player you have, we're always going to stink. And I feel like that is sunken into the city. It's sunken into the organization. And believe it or not, I think those players feel the same way. When I watched, it was one game I did watch, Mike, the 76ers. I watched some of that game. They lost by like 53 points. You know the old adage, the coach has lost the team?
Mm-hmm.
It felt like that. It felt like guys they're just there. Once you're at that point, how do you not make a move, Mike? Like, how are we at this point of the season? And they don't say to save. This is why I think something greater is afoot. They don't say to save the franchise. We have to do something for the morale of the young players around, the morale of the fan base, the morale of the city. We have to attempt at least to look like we're doing something.
So I agree that something needs to happen. And I'm questioning now, like, what are they waiting for? Because it seemed like they were waiting for everyone to be healthy, right? So you had Lamelo was cooking, Gordon was playing horrible. Like all of a sudden he can't shoot anymore, and then Terry was hurt. So Lamelo is doing well. The team's not really doing that great, and there's no Miles, right? So you're waiting for let's get them all back, right? Then Miles came back. You got Terry finally back from healthy, and then instantly, Lamelo goes down. And so they were all waiting for that one moment where all the stars align and everyone's there on the court, right? And we got to see it for about a quarter, and they didn't really learn anything from that. Then Lamelo goes down, and so now we're back to what I think was the original vision of Terry and Gordon as a centerpiece. Then you got your Miles and your PJs and people built around them, right? But that's the level of the team they were going for. And to be honest, like the Terry and Gordon team looks better now with Lamelo not in there. And what I mean by that is I don't think they all work together that well. I think you have to, I said this last episode, but you make a choice between a team built around Lamelo or a team built around Terry and Gordon, right? And trying to put them all together, it doesn't make sense anymore. You could, like at least to me, when I see with Terry and Gordon there, I see what they're trying to do. And because when they first, like Lamelo's first year, they were just using him as a place setter. Get here, initiate the offense, get this pass here, get this pass there, right? And when you watch the way that the offense goes around like Terry and Gordon, it's just about getting guys into getting the ball in certain spots, right? So we're going to run some basic action so we can get Terry or Gordon in a triple threat somewhere in isolation. And that's really the bulk of the offense. There's nothing beyond that, right? There's no other action beyond that. There's no like multiple guys working with each other. It's just basic action, get a guy open and give him some spacing so he can go one-on-one type stuff. And what that does is it generates numbers. But it generates numbers in isolation that don't really lead to other players. You can't leverage plays off of that, right? It's a bunch of just once that initial action's in there, now we're watching to see him if he can score or not, and then we're going to play from there, right? And so there's no life to the offense. It's not dynamic. It's not what people aren't like playing off of each other type of deal, right? Which Lamelo tries to do. Like naturally, he's trying to get things going. He's trying to get the ball moving, trying to get the ball flowing. But then you have these ball stoppers who they don't want to do that. It's the ball. Once the ball hits their hands, the music stops, and now it's their turn to kind of figure it out right now. And it's like, nah, like you have to latch on to the play, and they don't do that. And so going back to this idea of what are they waiting for? It's like, as far as I'm seeing, like this doesn't work. A move needs to be made right now. And I'm hoping, but I don't have any faith this is actually happening. I'm hoping that they're working behind the scenes to move Terry and Gordon right now while they actually have some life in them. Like I'm seeing the buzz of Gordon start to pick up right now.
Yeah.
You don't sound convinced.
Yeah. I'm starting to think something else is afoot. Yeah, I don't know. I do think he'll be moved. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? I do think he's going to be moved. But it's just like the lack of urgency is startling because you run the risk of ruining the young guys and the good things that they're doing. We've seen time and time again the Charlotte Hornets ruin young guys. You know what I'm saying? And you know, you're looking at a situation where James Bouknight, they're going out of their way not to play him. You know what I'm saying? They're going out of their way not to put him on the floor. So if you're another young guy and you're looking at that and you're hearing all these horror stories from Book and from other guys, you're going to start saying, man, am I ever going to get a fair opportunity in Charlotte to really play basketball? I remember a rumor came out of Summer League from 2 years ago. Apparently, they said Clutch Sports leaked it, that certain players were coming and telling agents, I don't want to end up in Charlotte, the young players. And this is one of the reasons why, because you never get a fair opportunity to get on the court. And like I said, if not now, when? If you can't get on the court when you're losing by 53 and you only get 6 minutes, that makes a player feel like the organization is going out of its way to keep me off the court. Is it based on talent? Am I that bad? You start questioning yourself. Am I really a worse basketball player than JT Thor? And that's not to really crap on JT Thor, but you start going down the roster. Am I better than this guy? Am I better than that guy? And you ruin confidence. To me, yes, Brandon Miller's playing well. He could play better, but he's playing well for a rookie. What development have we seen?
Mm-hmm.
What leap is he taking in the second half? Well, the first half of the second 20 games of the season, where we're saying, okay, the Hornets are empowering him to do this. They're empowering him to do that. Or is he still being made to play off Gordon and Terry and get in where he fits in? You want this from your rookie, and it's almost the All-Star break, man? Because you're hoping to have these guys off the team by the All-Star break. So now what has he developed that shows you that the second half of the season, cohesively with LaMelo Ball, hopefully going into the next season, they can do things from a situational basketball perspective together that they're enough to justify trading those veteran players. It just there's no sense in what they're doing. And really, like I said, we've been watching the Hornets at least. Mike, I know you've been watching them since LaMelo got there. I was watching them really since Miles got there. I've never seen this organization look more lost than right now. Like, I struggle to understand what exactly is going on. You know what I'm saying? Nick Smith Jr. Have you been watching Nick Smith Jr.?
Him getting in.
He's a monster. He's a walking, but like everything that they say Terry can do, he's already doing. And like you said, without the black hole moniker, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't get the ball and it sticks to him. He gets in where he fits in. One dribble pull up, gets a shot. And it makes you say, okay, so why, when the season had legs and had a life, why wasn't he playing? Like what are we doing? I think that's my biggest takeaway from the Hornets right now. What are we doing? Where are we going? Where is this headed? Is this just a suck to leave? We stink so bad, it's just not going to work here. The only way we can get this stench off of us is to go to a new city.
I don't see that happening. Charlotte's it's an up and coming city. They need more teams in the South over there, so I don't see that. The NBA, they're happy with it them being mediocre.
What you mean? It's in the script?
Yeah, I mean, like you need jobbers. You need someone to fill out the card.
Oh,
and quiet is kept, and not be disrespectful, but like the Charlotte fans are okay with that. They've shown that they're okay with being also Rans. So why would I mess that up if I'm the NBA?
Man, I don't want to believe that. But a lot of times the things that you don't want to believe are what's true. I mean, bruh, that sounds bad. That sounds bad. But nothing else really makes sense. Now, I personally believe, the owners bought the gentrificated house on the block. I mean, the old black lady that's refusing to sell, they went and bought her house. Just to say to the league, we own it. How much you want to pay us? That's what it feels like. Because, like, even saying openly, we're not going to invest. And I found the article. The article, matter of fact, it was an interview that was done on October 2nd. I'm going to post the link to it. And you just got to listen to it. I mean, it's unbelievable. We're not sure we're going to make any moves. Not this year or next year. What? That sounds like you don't want to invest your money into something, and you're just really selling, man. Because even if you're trying to stink, right? You're just jobbers, you're application guys, right? You're an unemployment agency. You gotta have fans actually come. And I heard tell that after Kimball Walker, and this is from season ticket holders in Charlotte, that the ticket sales were so bad, they were going around to the local hospital passing out tickets. So these fans can become disenfranchised and uninterested. I mean, it just doesn't make any business sense, especially if you supposedly bought the team for $3.6 billion. And then it's
But
the Lamelo Ball fight.
is the attendance still bad though?
It's horrible now. Now it's horrible. I've got people, once again, season ticket holders. I would, well, I'll just edit it into the final cut of the show. I have season ticket holders that live in Charlotte that send me pictures of the arena. And they're saying, I've never seen it look like this. That's how bad it is. You know, and so as a business model, I don't see how you're thinking long term or how you're worried about the NBA wanting this to be the sucky city after spending $3.6 billion. And then when you put on top of that the Lamelo factor, we are it's ironic, and Mike will tell you guys this, he'll testify to this. When we were constructing this podcast, my brother reached out to me, talked about doing some things. Episode 1 was an absolute classic. If you haven't watched it, make sure you go back and watch it. But I said to him at the end of episode 1, Mike, do you remember this? I said, are you sure that you want to cover the Charlotte Hornets? I said, because we're one LaMelo Ball ankle injury away from being in the abyss. An article came out, and Mike, I'm going to send you this article as well. An article came out last week. Maybe it was Rob Boone. It was one of those reporters that alluded to, or maybe it was the Real Access, alluded to LaMelo not even injuring himself, bro. This was inside of the org. There are people in the organization. Now, I know you heard this information before that even leaked. I know you did. But there are people that are on record now saying when he failed, he scared himself. But they don't think he really hurt himself. Now, we don't curse much on this podcast, but that's the closest to a WTF moment that we've had on this show. Because what in the flying Frankenstein does that mean if it's any validity to that?
So what angle are you hitting me with? Because I don't. Are you saying
true?
Okay.
And that's that has to be the only reason you spent $3.6 million. There's no other reason about the Charlotte Hornets other than the LaMelo effect. If this was a team with Kimball Walker, you're not buying that goddamn thing. There's no way. You're buying this team because you know you have an attraction that a cult base is always going to support. But if that guy allegedly is dealing with some kind of psychological issue when it comes to chronic ankle injuries, bro, where are you?
So I do remember you saying that because that comment's been in my head, like echoing ever since. Right? Because I'm like, damn, this dude did say that, man. And then here we are. He's one injury away, and here we are. But since he went down, Terry been on a little bit of a tear going on here, putting up this crazy numbers. Put that in context for me, like when Terry's doing what he's doing. I think he came back to earth the past couple of games, but what do you see when you see that?
I'm trying to think of the perfect metaphor of what I see when I see that. I see when my son goes to Chuck E. Cheese and they have those little machines where you can, you can pick up coins or pick up bears or whatever. It's as fake as those gold coins. It means nothing. It's for, this is the Purist podcast. So let's get into terminologies of basketball. It's for the basketball illiterate. That's it. It's just somebody has to score. Why not Terry? You know what I'm saying? That's literally what it is. So it gives us something to talk about. But anyone who just, since you brought up Terry, I'm gonna finally put a nail in the Terry Rozier coffin. Terry Rozier will be out of the NBA in the next 3 years.
Okay.
There is no model for Terry Rozier in today's game. He goes to any other team, he comes off the bench. And eventually some young stallion who is 6'6", 6'5", they're going to look at him and they're going to look at Terry and say, why am I giving this kid's minutes away to him? This is the reality. There's no place for Terry Rozier in the NBA. It's not. If he was a few years younger, 24, 25, he would have a chance of being Cam from the Brooklyn Nets. But even with Cam, I see how the writers talk about Cam. He dropped 37 tonight. It doesn't contribute. You know what I'm saying? The NBA does not like that style of ball anymore, bro. We have to be honest and open about it. They don't. And it's acceptable from Shai Gilchrist because he's 6'6". He's 6'6". He's leading a young team that has a bunch of freaks of nature, and he's that integral piece that you can depend on right now when you got to get a bucket. You think sometimes, hey, Chet might be able to give us that, but you don't know for sure. So Shai is the perfect bridge player until those young guys become the in the moment guys. And he's 6'6", so you can say, okay, he's not a liability defensively. He's a bucket getter offensively. He's an unstoppable force, and he gets to the free throw line. With Terry, you say, okay, he's 6'1". Oh, he put up 38. Oh, how many shots? Okay, of those 38, how much did he give up defensively, or how much did we give up rotationally defensively because we have to hide him? 42? The math don't math. Charlotte's a circus. And when you are dealing in a circus, you got to have attractions. You got to have clowns. You got to have things that no other team wants, because that's the only place they'll play.
So you don't think other teams are seeing this and being like, I could use that off the bench?
Nope. I think 2 years ago, yes. I believe the LA Clippers, when they were saying 2 years ago they wanted Terry Rozier. Now I look at the LA Clippers because I don't see any other place for Terry Rozier that is a serious contender. I felt like Terry Rozier could have filled into that Lou Williams role for the Clippers to a certain extent. But like I said, remember the young guy. I'm going to trade Terry for Terry Rozier and get rid of Bones Highland at 6'6" that does the same thing. Why? It just doesn't make sense. He's not known as some lockdown 3-and-D guy. So, okay, Terry, when I bring you off the bench and I need you to contribute in other ways in the playoffs, because every night I don't need Jordan Clarkson to drop 40. Sometimes I need Jordan Clarkson, who's on the trade block now. I need Jordan Clarkson to drop 10. But I need you to lock this guy up. Who the hell is Terry locking up off the bench?
I mean,
most of these teams that are playoff teams, the way the NBA is constructed, we heard all of this stuff with David Stern and Adam Silver's undertones. They don't want big threes, right? They just didn't want player big threes. Their produced big threes from the league and the orgs, they're fine with it. Most of these playoff teams have three guys that are dynamic. So if you got three guys that are dynamic, you want a dynamo trio to at least give you 60 to 80 points in a game. So if the average NBA score is 120 points, and Terry is a guy that puts up 23 points a game, who's getting the other shots? What's happening to the other 11 guys on the team? They're going to sacrifice their shots for Terry Rozier? The math don't add up.
yeah. like when I see Terry's numbers, like I've always liked Terry's game. I've
Well,
been
me
a fan
too,
of his
bro.
game. I don't like his fit with the Hornets, and so that's always my issue with him. But to me, it shows what I've always believed about the NBA is that these players are good, right? You give any player opportunity, and they'll show you something, right? They won't show you all the same things, but they'll show you something. And you saw that with someone like Terry. Like you put it perfectly. Someone has to get those points. Someone's going to score those points regardless. It's just a matter of who's going to be. And he's shown he can do that. I still think he has value to a playoff team. I do think he's in the same boat as Jordan Clarkson, who if he's on a trade block, it makes sense because the Jazz aren't trying to be a playoff team right now. So you got this expensive Ferrari that you really can't use it day to day. You can only use it on special occasions. But if there's no special occasions to go to, then why it's just sitting there just collecting dust type deal. This is an expensive thing I can't really afford in my garage. And so, with Terry, he makes 22, 24 million a year, which is borderline. When he got it, it was on the high side. But this year, going into next year with the salary cap rising, now it's a little more manageable a playoff team could talk themselves into, I could afford this dude on my bench. I can bring extra money, have him on the bench for that score. I'm thinking that, but as I'm saying that, I don't know who that team is. So maybe that's not reality.
That's the issue. When you try to actually find the team, it does not make sense because you look at the name of the game now is young talent. That's the name of the game. Developing young talent, getting these guys ready to be the next faces and role players in the league. And you go down these rosters, and at that number that is not expiring, by the way. No, you're not doing that. You're not, because you're stuck with that for 2 to 3 years. So now that young guy, all of the bad and negative stuff we talk about with the Hornets, how they don't develop their guys and their guys don't get on the court. So now you're going to take away from this guy so that Terry can do what again? Like just from a basketball perspective, like X's and O's. Okay, Terry can give you some juice off the bench and give you 3. Jordan Clarkson again is 6'5", 6'6". So at least you got length. Okay, so we're going to go and like I said, I see them do it every game. We're going to seek out Terry. Okay, we're going to start playing the odds. Yeah, he's been putting up some numbers and he's been throwing up a lot of shots. So for the ones he misses, if we're still scoring because we're picking on him in a playoff game, Terry Rozier in the pick and roll? Nah, bro. Nah, I think a team I think they'll reach out of mercy. I think Gordon and Terry end up on another team out of mercy, bro. You know what I'm saying? And just for the fact, like you said, they're there. You know what I'm saying? In theory, it sounds good. But like so many other veterans, like I remember when Chandler Parsons finally got traded. It was a year and a half. Now he's doing podcasts. Because once you're classified in this league, you're classified. I go down the rosters on the East Coast, New York Knicks. They're not putting Grimes on the bench, or they're not changing his bench rotation because they run him and Emmanuel quickly, like in dual roles. And there's one other guy, Josh Hart and one other guy. Who are they benching in the playoffs when all of those guys can lock up and play defense for Tom Thibodeau, for Terry Rozier? Nobody. The Miami Heat are interesting. The problem with the Miami Heat, they're cheaper than dollar stores. You know what I'm saying? Unless the Hornets are going to be willing to give up crumbs. I think the Miami Heat might
I think the Heat for who? For Gordon?
No,
not for Terry.
I think for Terry.
No, I think for Gordon.
No chance, bro. Why you say Gordon?
Because he's on expiring. He's big money now. He's on expiring.
Yeah.
And I think they could get him to re-sign next year. And I think he will look good in the Hornets system. I mean, the Heat system.
I have to think about that one. I can't give a judgment. That you might have cooked on the lowest of keys, but I don't know, man.
And it's only going to cost them Kyle Lowry and the second round pick.
Who would be their backup point guard? Who would be their point guard for the stretch run this year? Then?
Doesn't matter.
So you think they'll just tank? They're just giving it up?
No, Kyle Lowry, he's not doing anything for them. He's not changing anything for them.
But he provides some things. He still can get you a charge in big moments. He still can, get your offense in a direction. If you do that, you're basically signifying to Jimmy Butler that you're the point forward.
And he is.
But
in playoff time.
But that's what they complain about. That's why they wanted Dame. Remember, they didn't want him to do that anymore. They wanted him to be able to get to the spots down the stretch, play off somebody. I think that would signal to the Heat fan base, okay, we're not winning this year.
But Dame's not here, so he's not coming.
Yeah.
So I don't see how moving on from Lowry changes anything to the negative.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's not that much of an impact player anymore.
But I've been shocked to hear though that there's buzz around Gordon. So it seems a lot of teams is talking themselves into it.
We'll see.
He has looked better. He just looks so uncomfortable. Like maybe there was an injury he's kind of getting over, but I still just don't think he doesn't like playing with Lamelo. Because he wants everything on his pace, on his rhythm. And LaMelo's constantly forcing him out of his comfort zone, doing things that he doesn't want to do, like cuts he doesn't want to make, that type of deal. And so you can just tell he's uncomfortable because he wants things to be more predictable. He wants everything down to be methodical, get into it, the same thing over and over. And well, he's too dynamic for that. And for the old dudes, you ain't trying to do all that, man.
Yeah. He definitely plays that. He's more up pace when Terry's out there. He's more comfortable when he's playing off Terry. I don't know if it's a case of teams wanting Gordon or it's a case of the classic Asian trip. Everybody wants him. Let's leak it. And nobody wants you. But like I said, based off mercy, I don't think he'll be on this team. I'm sorry, because at some point, like it gets to the point where it's so bad. I do think the league is going to have to start like, well, what would be good? Gordon's in Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? To be good. They got Terry Rozier. Like at some point, something has to change. It's to the point where it's so bad, something has to change.
I don't think it's that bad.
What is it that bad?
I think if you clear the dead wood, if you get Terry and Gordon out, the existing pieces, you'll get more from Brandon Miller. You'll get more from Miles. And then you have to see the young guys you got. The Nick Smith Juniors, the Leaky Blacks, the McGowans. Like, there's more there, but we're never going to see them while we're still holding on to this mediocre stuff.
Yeah.
And like that's why it's like, it's time to just slash and burn right now. Like we can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like it's been 4 years of seeing this. You can't. What are you waiting for?
I have no idea. I don't know if you're saving it for the last topic, but you keep throwing me alley-oops and I gotta dunk it, bro. Yeah, if you got a healthy star, it's not that bad. But the problem is, your first round pick, you may not get it next year because of that stupid trade. So, yeah, you got young talent, but none of it works without the point guard. All of those guys, what we've learned over this stretch, all of those guys without number one are, I'm not going to say mad, but they're good. Two of them are very good players. Without number one, you got to start thinking about a potential blow for the entire roster and doing what Oklahoma City did. You really do. I think that's the responsible. If you don't start to get answers with what's going on with LaMelo Ball, you seriously have to consider, if you're really serious about staying in Charlotte, nuking it all, getting whatever you can get for whatever young talent, stockpiling draft picks, and building up over the next 5-6 years. You cannot continue to hold on to names for the sake of names, whoever they are. And then now you got to start paying these young guys because, like I said, next year, no matter what you're thinking, you got to pay Mark Williams, right? You're going to have to pay him something, right? Then another guy's going to roll over. And it's like, what am I paying for? Perennial 13th seeds? Can this guy stay on the court? If he can't stay on the court, what are these other pieces to me? Because what I've seen about Brandon Miller, as dynamic as he is not ready to be in the least to put the ball in for consistent score. So if number one is out, that's why his turnover numbers are so high right now, Brandon Miller, because he picks up his dribble and he starts pivoting and he's waiting for somebody to save him. He's not getting the development right now for that to change. I expect to see a leap in year 2, but not a leap that takes you anywhere out of a 13th seed. So now you're in year 5 of the Lamelo experience. Then it's going to be year 6. And by year 7, players start having options to go to bigger markets.
Well, their pick next year is top 14 protected.
Okay.
So that tells you right there that they're tanking. They're not. If they finish higher than that, they're going to lose their pick next year. So they're incentivized to tank now. So I expect them. I don't know what to expect anymore. I'm gonna stop saying that.
What is that much of a enigma wrapped inside of an enigma? Yeah.
Yeah. Because you think that you would just sell Gordon Terry for whatever I can get for him, just get off of him, and then I'm try to bring back Miles, and then hopefully get a top 10 pick next year, and that's the team we're going with, I guess. Like,
if Gordon and Terry are on the roster in 2024 at opening tip, what are your thoughts?
I can't go there, Rev. I can't go there.
I'm like, I gotta know.
No. If I see anything about Gordon re-signing, I don't care if he resigned for the vet minimum. I'm like, this they're cooked. This organization's done. Right? There's nothing to see anymore. Like, and again, I'm saying that because I don't see that there's no way that they could do this. There's no way in hell that Gordon would be back on the team.
It's definitely a way Terry's gonna be on that team. They may not even be thinking about trading Terry, bro. Terry still got. You're saying that about that contract, but it's guys that are a lot better than making a lot less. That's a high contract for Terry Rozier to come off the bench. So I can see a situation where Terry's at least on the roster. I'm not saying it's going to be factual and it's going to happen, but Gordon, I would think with an expiring contract, he has to be gone.
And that's what I'm saying. Right. He has to be gone. Yeah, at least Terry still has years on his deal. Gordon, he doesn't.
Yeah.
But I don't even know who's Gordon for at this point. Like, who's genuinely excited about seeing Gordon Hayward out there in a triple threat?
No one. That's why I say you can see a situation, especially if they feel like they're going to be in blow-up mode and LaMelo's not going to be consistently healthy. I can see a situation where, because like you said, the way the fans adore Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier in Charlotte, I can see a situation where they just stay pat for the next 2 years and see if they can get something for LaMelo long term.
So you dropped a bomb earlier. I want to go back to.
Yeah.
And about people in the organization not thinking that LaMelo actually got hurt. Yeah. Right. So is he in fact hurt? Or when's he coming back? Or is that all up in the air right now?
Well, I'm not answering that first question. I can't answer that first question. I'm not going to answer that. But when is he coming back, bro? Let me see if I'm still on it. When is he coming back? I don't know. I'm trying to turn these captions off. Hold on, my bad. Press. There we go. I don't know, bro. I mean, does Lamelo trust the training staff? Does he trust his ankle? Is he, in fact, severely hurt? Will the war of the ankle braces, will the front office win that war? You know what I'm saying? Is he agitated? What mental space is he in? There are reports that he's not in the best of spirits. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But I will say this is a problem, and it's a huge problem. It's a $260 million problem. It's the future of your franchise type problem, and it does kind of handicap you from making moves going forward.
Well, you said that 260, but that 260 is conditional on him being all NBA this year. And
he got to be this year. I thought he
that's
had
what I was
4 years to do it. No. I
could be wrong. I thought you had to do it this year in order to convert it.
No, because his money don't hit to next year anyway. The deal doesn't go into effect to next year. So I don't think that's true.
Because isn't it like the Derrick Rose exception?
I don't know. You would have to ask one of those capologists that question, but I don't think it's the first year though.
I think the logic is if you do that stuff while you're on your rookie contract, it bumps you up for the Supermax. So that's why this year is his last year to do it. To where if you perform as an All NBA player, because Derrick Rose is MVP on his rookie deal, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm speculating, so I don't know. But
it can't be true because Jaylen Brown just got a Supermax, and Jaylen Brown didn't make All NBA until like a year ago. That can't be true.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't. Not in the first 4 years. No, the hell he didn't. He didn't make no All NBA. His first All NBA team was like 2 years ago. Yeah,
and that's how you qualify for it.
Yeah, but it was after that initial extension. That's what I'm saying.
All right, well, we'll have to find more clarity on that because we're not capologists here. But where I was going with that is if LaMelo wants that, it's on him to put himself on the floor. Because at this point, it's almost the Hornets' interest for him not to get that, so they don't pay that type of money. So you would think for him, if he's motivated by that, and I don't know if he is or if he isn't. I don't have that as a good or a bad thing if people are motivated by money. But if he is someone who wanted that 260, then he would need to get back on the floor as soon as possible so he can qualify for those All NBA and those. Is it All Star or is it All NBA? It has to be All NBA or Defensive Player of the Year.
All Star. I thought it was the All Star, and I think for the second contract it is All NBA because I do remember the talking point coming out of last summer is, oh my God, Jaylen Brown is going to get a Supermax because he made All NBA team, second team All NBA. So yeah, my question is to you: do you think he's injured? Because you put me on the spot. Okay.
So initially, when I first seen it, I'm thinking to myself, "Get up!" Like I don't see what happened. But that's how I'm just that way in general. I'm just always like I see people fall. I'm like, man, get up! Like should I walk it off? But I don't know people's bodies, man. So like, I'm not gonna say that. So if he says he's hurt, I believe he's hurt.
Right.
I don't really have reason to doubt that. You piqued my interest when you said that internally the question came up: is he actually hurt or not? That made my mind spark about like, is that genuine? Is that just people just making bad faith arguments, just trying to sow doubt? I don't know. But
how real do we want to be on the show? This is one of those defining moments because me and you, and I made sure you were privy to this information. So me and you were privy to some information before people around the team started saying that. That's what makes it very concerning. Because there's no way I can tell you that the night that it happens, and now people are saying that. There's no way. It's not possible. And if we're there, I'm not going to say doom and gloom. The kid's 22 years old. But what does need to happen, if we're in a situation where he isn't hurt, now I'm not saying he isn't hurt. This is all alleged. Because like you said, it's his body, he knows. But if it is something that is psychological, the Hornets do need to shut him down for the season. He needs to look into potential surgeries that can solidify his ankle. And if that's not an option, if it's too risky to keep messing with the scar tissue, then sports psychiatrists. You know what I'm saying? Like really getting into a place mentally where, because like I said, I feel like Lamelo has been reaching a boiling point. I cracked a joke when the Charlotte Observer took a picture of him when he returned to the court 2 weeks ago. And like the look on his face, cuz I cracked the joke on Twitter. I was like, yo, son is shot out for being on the camera, but he's literally looking at the camera like, it looks like the National Enquirer, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are y'all taking a picture of me? And then his answer to Rod Boone last week, when Rod Boone was hounding him about the ankle brace. Did you see that? Mike, where are you, bro? Like, it's getting crazy, man. Rod Boone asked him at practice last week because, Walker Mail threw him under the bus about the ankle braces the night of his injury and how he talked to him at the Spectrum, and Lamelo said he didn't want to do it. So I guess Lamelo got wind of what Walker Mail said, and Rod Boone asked him about ankle braces last week and, about his ankle in general. And Lamelo got feisty, bro. And they was like, do you think you wear it? He's like, nah, I don't think I'm going to wear that. So stop asking me because I'm not going to wear that. I have to see. I don't know. And now that these stories are trickling out, and you start hearing these things and you're seeing his reactions, nah, bro. The situation for the Hornets, like I said, and I've said these things before, not being based on I know everything or anything like that. I don't know everything. I could be absolutely wrong. But at least as ownership, you got to start being concerned. What is going on with the future of the franchise? And that's why, like I said, I cannot find any justification why you would not make a move right now, just to give your young players court time to keep their mind off everything else so they can be engaged and bought into the team. But now you have these reports leaking out, which is kind of foul to leak that out, that, we kind of think that it was more of the fall than the actual injury. Is that the organization trying to send smoke signals?
So what's your expectation? Will we see him again this year? I don't know. At first, I was like 2 to 3 weeks. We're on week 3 now. I'm starting to think, no. I'm not saying he's not injured, but I for sure feel like it's more psychological. There's a lot going on psychologically. And until his mental is comfortable that I can actually do a left-hand layup and land on my right ankle after planning on it, until he knows he can do that, then nothing else we talk about on this show matters. Brandon Miller or anything else, until we get a vision, because even if it's some horrible, godforsaken situation like Brandon Roy, right? At least Portland was able to understand then, okay, this guy is not going to be here anymore. So now we can start making moves towards the future. The problem with the Hornets right now, they're in limbo. Mm-hmm. Let's build around Lamelo. Is Lamelo healthy enough to play 40 games a year? If so, are we willing to invest into that 40 games, knowing that he's not going to make it for the rest of the season? If that's the case, we got to build other pieces that might be counter to what he does best, because we still got to be able to try to win games when he's not out there. But they're not doing that.
I think that's part of the decision they have to make right now.
Because what you're saying makes sense. Like, if you're worried about Lamelo long term, what's your heads? Like, what other pieces are you building into? And you're not seeing what you got in a Nick Smith Jr., in the McGowans, in a book night, because you're still playing around with the pass and Gordon and Terry. And so it's like we're back to the Hornets front office, and we're stuck in this limbo. If you have to make a decision going forward right now, it's like they want to be like, I don't know. At some point, you got to make a decision, man. Like,
you ever read a book called Dante's Inferno?
I heard of it. No, I ain't read it.
It's a place called Purgatory. The Hornets are in perpetual purgatory. That's their existence. They're not the absolute worst ever, right? But over time, they're the worst ever. But there's never any point in any year where you look at the worst team in the league and you say the Hornets are the absolute worst team. It's always a Detroit, you know what I'm saying, or some outlier, and then the next year they're in the playoffs. But the Hornets, right in the middle of the back of the pack, year after year, and it's because of decisions like this.
So give me some hope, man. Like, what are we looking forward to?
Bro, I don't have any hope for this franchise right now. The only hope, what I will say, because I know LaMelo's people and Jermaine's people, they do listen to the LitHoUsE. They watch the podcast. I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom. The young man is 22 years old. If it takes some time to get back on the court, get your mental health right, get your spirit in a good place, and when you're ready to get back out there and you're back trusting your body, that's when you come out there. Because now the more that we talk, it kind of feels like maybe the Hornets are rushing them on the court to see what they have with that group.
What group? The Terry and Gordon group?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that's as obvious to me is they're still everyone hold. We need to wait and see. They're all back. They're all healthy again. It's like, stop.
Yeah. Nick Smith Jr. gives me hope. Brandon Miller gives me hope. I like Bryce McGowan and what he's been doing. As critical as I used to be of him, I like his get in to fit in mentality that he's brought into this year versus last year. I'm going to get my own. I don't even know about Miles anymore, Mike. Not from a game perspective. I just don't think this organization is committed to Miles. After that information leak from Yahoo Sports about him not being with the team, and the Hornets don't feel like they're going to pursue him. After having a season like this where they're losing this bad, is it worth it? You know?
Wait, I thought he couldn't get across the border.
Yeah, that's something else. But once again, another article came out, and that you can Google it on Yahoo Sports. It wasn't Zach Lowe. It was the other guy. He was right about the Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson deal. And it's just, he was like, the Charlotte Hornets don't intend to bring Miles Bridges back. And Miles responded to him.
Oh, okay. I seen that.
Yeah, and it's like, Oryx get the leak in that. That guy didn't just make that up. Miles and the Hornets are not a big enough hot topic to just say, I'm going to make up a lie. So this isn't LeBron, bro, or Steph. This is the Hornets. You know what I'm saying?
See, I'll push back on that because Miles is a big name in NBA circles, especially NBA social media. So NBA fans, he is a big name because of what happened off the court. So there's already interest in him and seeing him get whatever. There's still people who have this hatred for Miles. That's weird because again, it doesn't make sense for someone from the Hornets. Why are they so charged up about this one guy type deal? But he also is like this dude who is a maximal player. So from a player perspective, he's a known quantity. That's a big deal. And then from the fans' perspective or a troll perspective, his name also rings out. So I can see why people would talk about him and speculate about him because he changes things.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a guy that was one of the few guys saying that Brandon Miller was still going to be the pick over Scoot Henderson and how he had been out to Charlotte. I kind of feel like somebody in the org said something. And even Miles' response, it wasn't like cap or nothing like that. It was a question mark. Almost as to say, okay, what are you talking about? Where you get this from? Like normally when players feel like it's BS, they'll be like cap. You know what I'm saying? They say it's cap when they were like lies or whatever. No, it was like, and even since the article was came out, Miles ain't playing with the same energy, bro. That's the first thing I looked at. When the night that article came out, Miles has been playing like, you know, he's more laid back. He's not pressing the issue. He believe me, he knows. He knows.
You don't think that's an issue of playing with Terry and Gordon?
Yeah, some of it is, and some of it is the realization that no matter what you do, you're going to lose that situation. I'm starting to think that maybe Miles needs a change of scenery.
I can't go there yet.
Now, I can see a team. I can see a contender making a serious push for Miles Bridges at the trade deadline. I can see that before Gordon and Terry any day.
He can't move though.
If he approves of the trade, he can. If he
approves, that's right.
Yeah, that's the stipulation with his contract. If he approves of the trade, and if he gives the team an indication that he'll resign at the amount that they, are offering, then yeah, it'll happen.
If that happens, I better see Terry and Gordon out the door also. That needs to be a complete rebuild.
You on this Terry and Gordon thing?
Man, because it represents where the organization's mind is at. It's until they're ready to move on from that, you can't go anywhere.
You can't. Yeah, you ain't got no argument with me.
And if they still think they got some juice in there, that's the thing that's crazy to me. It's like, what story are you telling yourself that I just need to wait and see something else? Like I can do that. I'm really good at telling myself different things to find the positive or some glimmer of hope somewhere, right? But like, right. There's no more left. It's like, what are you waiting to see? Like,
facts. I mean, it is what it does feel like that bad relationship that you've held on to too long.
Mm-hmm.
It's to the point where you both realize in the car, like, what the hell are we doing? What the hell are they doing? That relationship probably was over when they got blown out in the play in that second year. They probably should have made some big time moves then and upgraded that team, and it would have helped them deal with the injuries a lot better last year.
You know what's crazy about that too is you're right. That should have been a wake up call, but all that did was let people doubt Lamelo more.
Yep.
Instead of being like, well, man, like, let's build a better team, a better roster. They did nothing. But in my mind, they just sat back and let him absorb all the blame for
it. Yep.
Like at no point did you hear something that they're talking about making a better roster, building around him. It's almost like they left him out there to just take these hits when people question his character. He's a winning player. Like that's on the organization at that point.
Yeah,
that's when they need to step in, talk to the writers, change the narrative. But here we are.
The biggest move that they made going into that plan, I'll never forget. Names like Gary Trent Jr. were out there. Other names were out there that really could have helped that team that year. The biggest move they made was Brad Wanamaker.
I forgot all about that.
And Brad Wanamaker is no longer in the NBA. This is facts.
Sometimes the name tells y'all need to know.
Yep. And I remember Eric Collins every game. Brad Wanamaker, the barrel-chested one. And I'm like, this is just like a feel-good middle America, we're not serious about basketball. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I go back and forth with these thoughts about the Charlotte Hornets. I don't know how serious they are about winning, but I know every businessman is serious about making money. And they didn't just donate $3.6 billion to the Hornets for charity.
So let's end on this. How you feeling about your boy Teo Maladon, man? Don't
you know the gold?
Well,
I can't even say the gold coin theory. Just another gaslight, man. Just another guy they knew wasn't good enough. He just got re-signed. I want to say he got re-signed to the Phoenix Suns two-way squad. So he'll be doing a lot of time in Yucatan, Mexico or some I mean, like, you know, it is what it is, bro.
I bring him up, man, because he's a interesting name for me. Because there is this guy who, if you go like on the Hornets subreddit, they all know who he is. I ain't gonna say his name right now. But this dude thinks he's some like draft expert. Some super nerd dude just will pull out the calculator and this, that, and the other, whatever. But this was the biggest LaMelo Ball hater, like the biggest hater. And I'll show you all his models and all his stats. That this dude is. There's never anyone to do anything like this. And blah 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 blah. He's not an NBA player. All this type of stuff. I met back this dude for months. Me and just going back and forth, like arch enemy type deal.
Right.
So the irony. And this dude is a Hornets fan who at the time had a Hornets podcast. Right. But so for him to have his biggest thing he hated on was LaMelo. When LaMelo goes to the Hornets, it was like a nightmare for him.
Right.
But to bring it all full circle, on his mock draft, his number one talent for that draft was one Teo Maladon.
The level of ineptitude when it comes to, I'm not even gonna say it. All right, we'll go off, homeboy.
So when they brought him in, it was already kind of funny because that meant he already got cut from the team that drafted him. Right. But then to back up LaMelo was too much, and then now that they let him go, I'm just like, man.
But from a team that drafted him that's loading up on young talent. It's not a lot of veterans in your OKC. That's basically saying you're trash for your age group.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You have no hope. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it is what it is, man. But it's been a hell of an episode, man.
And the Hornets would not be the Hornets without your Brad Wanamakers and your Teo Maladons. That's where we're at, man.
It is. It is. But like I said, don't leave this episode unhopeful. You got Brandon Miller. You got Nick Smith Jr. You like what you see in Bryce McGowan. You like what you see sometimes from Nick Richards. Mark Williams is who he is. You know what I'm saying? So there's some good things. It's going to take a whole restructuring of the entire organization from top to bottom. And make sure you guys stay tuned into the Purist podcast, episode 3. Make sure y'all go subscribe to my brother Amongst the Trees and subscribe here in the LitHoUsE as well. And let us know down there in the comment sections below, what do you have to be hopeful for the Charlotte Hornets, and where do you see the future of the Charlotte Hornets headed?
Man, there it is. Episode 3, Purist Podcast.
Episode 3, another classic.
Peace.